Faith without works is dead. You hear it all the time. You go to church and you learn all these scriptures, but then you don't apply none of them to your life. You're looking at a man who has made the simple application of 3 or 4 scriptures and maxed them out to get here. I maxed out 3, 4 scriptures to get here. I kid you not. I'll share them with you if you want to hear about them, but I maxed out 3, 4 scriptures to get here. I'd love to tell you I'm the funniest person ever lived, but I ain't. Richard Pryor got that. I'd love to tell you I'm the greatest entertainer, but I ain't. Michael Jackson was that. I got all that, but they gone. So I probably am. But listen, man, but I got to tell you something. If you could get a couple of things from me, if you could gather this piece of information. Albert Einstein said one. He said, imagination is everything. It's the preview to life's coming attraction. Now, I want you to get this now. Imagination is everything. It's the preview to life's coming attraction. Because if you think about it, everything you have, everything we have in this world, somebody imagined. It's your imagination is tremendous. Somebody was sitting on the phone one day talking with a cord to the wall and said, man, I wish I could just go outside with this phone. Everybody in here got a cell phone. Somebody imagined that. Somebody got tired of riding in a wagon cross country from slavery to freedom. Somebody said, I wish we had something that made these wheels move by themselves. We drive cars. People got tired of driving from New York to LA. Somebody said, I wish we could fly. We got airplanes. Imagination is everything. It's the preview to life's coming attraction. Your real life, the one God really got for you, is in your imagination. It is not in your current situation or your current paycheck. And if you've been living like that, you have then restricted yourself to a commonality that is really not yours. Because what really God got for you is really in your imagination. Now, since there's a lot of church folk in here, let me tie that to a scripture, because this is when you really start affecting black folk. See, y'all don't really believe nothing till you tie it to some type of church thing. So let's just go on and do that. And once again, before I start this, I am not a pastor or a preacher. So there is a script that Albert Einstein took this quote. It's like the book The Secret. The Secret is one of the top-selling motivational books ever. But if you read the book The Secret, it's all biblical. Everything comes from the Bible. You really don't need self-help books. You don't need the magic of thinking big, the power of positive thinking, how to win friends and influence people, Think and Grow Rich, the Winner's Circle. I've read them all. All of that information is in Proverbs, all of it. But let me give you this scripture. You've all heard this, right? Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So when I told you a minute ago, you got to have a tremendous work ethic, but you got to have a lot of faith. I talk to so many people who get older, like some of us are, and they've lost their faith. Well, faith is really simple. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. All that means is in the beginning, you just...
Now, fear is going to be a player in your life, but you get to decide how much. You can spend your whole life imagining ghosts, worrying about the pathway to the future, but all there will ever be is what's happening here, and the decisions we make in this moment, which are based in either love or fear. So many of us choose our path out of fear disguised as practicality. What we really want seems impossibly out of reach and ridiculous to expect, so we never dare to ask the universe for it. I'm saying I'm the proof that you can ask the universe for it. My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that that was possible for him. And so he made a conservative choice. Instead, he got a safe job as an accountant. And when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job, and our family had to do whatever we could to survive. I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which was that you can fail at what you don't, so you might as well take a chance on doing what you love. I watched the effect of my father's love and humor and how it altered the world around me, and I thought, that's something to do. That's something worth my time. It wasn't long before I started acting up. People would come over to the house and they'd be greeted by a 7-year-old throwing himself down a large flight of stairs. When I was about 28, after a decade as a professional comedian, I realized one night in LA that the purpose of my life had always been to free people from concern, just like my dad. And when I realized this, I dubbed my new devotion the Church of Freedom from Concern. And I dedicated myself to that ministry. What's yours? How will you serve the world? What do they need that your talent can provide? That's all you have to figure out. As someone who's done what you're about to go and do, I can tell you from experience, the effect you have on others is the most valuable currency there is. Everything you gain in life will rot and fall apart, and all that will be left of you is what was in your heart and got me to the top of a mountain. Look where I am. Look what I get to do. Everywhere I go. I'm going to get emotional because when I tap into this, it really is extraordinary to me. I did something that made people present their best selves to me wherever I go. I am at the top of the mountain, and I was, and the only one I hadn't freed was myself, and that's when my search for identity deepened. I wondered who I'd be without my fame. Who would I be if I said things that people didn't want to hear? Or if I defied their expectations of me? What if I showed up to the party without my Mardi Gras mask and refused to flash my breasts for a handful of beads? But you guys are so ahead of the game. You already know who you are. And that peace that we're after lies somewhere beyond personality, beyond the perception of others, beyond invention and disguise, even beyond effort itself. You can join the game, fight the wars, play with form all you want, but to find real peace, you have to let the armor go. Your need for acceptance can make you invisible in this world. Don't let anything stand in the way of the light that shines through this form. Risk being seen in all of your glory.
I enjoy connecting with people and ideas, and I have a mission statement. So every year for probably the past 10 years, I've worked out a mission statement for myself. And for the last few years, the mission statement has stayed the same, and it's been improve lives, right? So when I go into something, I'm looking for how the quality of this piece could potentially improve lives. But it's all along the way. It's when you make the movie and how you're interacting with people in the process. And, the concept of improving lives runs through the center of everything I do. And then I realized that the way to improve lives is to continually improve yourself, right? So with that, every morning when I get out of the bed, I haven't fixed everything in the world yet, so there's always something to do. And in this film, I read an interesting quote for the Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. He said that good people have to get out of the bed every day and try to empty the ocean with a ladle, right? And I thought that was, I knew that was profound, and I paused for a second and I said, all right, what the hell is a ladle? As the mentality of how you wake up every day to try to do good in the world. So for me, I'm really driven by continually trying to elevate my mind and elevate my spirit and care for my body, and to be able to love as many people as effectively as possible with this mystery of life that I've been given.
Of course it's your fault. It's your report too. It's your responsibility to see that everyone you delegated work to does their part. Now, you can't control what others around you do, but it's in your own best self-interest that you stay on top of things, especially if it's going to affect your future. You think your boss cares that John didn't do his part? You think he sees John as the bad guy? Of course not. All he sees is that the report isn't done. Bottom line, be responsible for the things that affect you. You can make sure you're more responsible by checking in with those people who are working with you, the people who make up your team. You can be more responsible by saying, hey, John, how are you doing with your part? Do you need some help? Can we put somebody else in here to help you finish? Now, if John consistently doesn't handle his part, you've got to replace John. If he isn't doing his share, you've got to find somebody that will. Or what? It will negatively affect you. You can't wake up in the morning that the project is due hoping and wishing that John has done his part. No, you've got to be responsible because it's going to affect your career too. Now, my approach to my better future very early on in my career was to just go through the day with my fingers crossed. And I used to say something like, I sure hope things will change for the better. Then here's what I found out. They're not going to change. Somebody says, well then, how will my life ever change? Answer, when you change. When you change, when you get better, it'll get better. If you change, it'll all change. Don't put it on someone else. Hope that someone else will change it for you. Take responsibility for yourself. take personal responsibility. You can't change the circumstances or the seasons or the wind, but you can change your reading habits. You can change whether or not you go for the skills, burn the midnight oil, turn yourself around, multiply your value by 2, 3, 5, 10. That you've got charge of. That you have control of. You don't have control of the constellations, but you've got control over whether or not you go to night school, take adult classes, learn some new skills. You have control over that. And if you don't, that's your fault. You've got to take personal responsibility. You've got to be self-reliant. Nobody else can change your life, alter your ambitions, pave a golden road for you. But you can. It's up to you. Be responsible for yourself. Learn to reap the harvest without complaint. This is a sign of growing maturity. And here's where it comes from: taking full responsibility. Take full responsibility for everything you do. Be responsible to yourself. It's your crop. Whatever your paycheck is, take full responsibility. You say, well, it's my employer. No, it's not your employer. You can become twice as valuable, 3 times as valuable. Burn the midnight oil, learn some more skills, bring more value to the marketplace. I'm telling you, whatever your harvest is, take it without complaint. Whenever you prepare correctly, taking all of the steps you're supposed to take, doing everything in your power to stay on track, whenever your preparations lead to success, achieving your goals, you reinforce the disciplines that got you there. Success leads to reinforcement of the proper disciplines. If what you're doing is working, keep doing it. If what you're doing isn't working, change it. How can you isolate what's working for you and what isn't? How can you make sure that you are reinforcing your positive disciplines? Well, if it isn't apparent, easy to see right away. If what you're doing is happening in such small increments that you're not sure if you're on track, then you need to be writing it down. You need to keep a journal anyway. But if you really aren't sure that what you're doing is making measurable progress, you need to keep a written record. You need to write down everything that may be relevant in your day. What you did, who you saw, what you felt, how it may or may not affect you now and in the future.
The constant commitment to putting something in the world of value, as long as you can stay focused on delivering your art and delivering yourself and delivering your energy and delivering your ideas for the world to be better.
The secret to success is doing a lot of little things consistently over a long period of time. The moment of every single day has a massive impact on where you ultimately end up.
The way to improve lives is to continually improve yourself. Good people have to get out of the bed every day and try to empty the ocean with a soup spoon, as the mentality of how you wake up every day to try to do good in the world.
You really got to focus with all of your fiber and all of your heart and all of your creativity.
Dreams without goals are just dreams, and they ultimately fuel disappointment. Goals on the road to achievement cannot be achieved without discipline and consistency.
What if I told you this was the last Monday morning of your life? What if I told you you die this week? Would you complain about your crap job or that test you don't want to take? I doubt it. You would go much higher level thinking. Well, that's really what it takes. It takes understanding that if you're not pumped right now, if you're begrudging what you're about to do, if you're not looking forward to it, look, I respect practicality. You got to go through school because your parents want to. You got to pay your rent. You got student loans. I get it. But please recognize the world we're living in.
When you feel like your professor or your teacher has lost their mind. When you feel like your energy is all gone and it's impossible to finish every assignment on time. When you feel like you're mentally broken and your motivation to achieve is hard to find. When you feel like the clouds in your life are so dark it would be impossible to ever see the sun shine again. When you feel. Those are 3 of the most powerful words that could ever be put together. When you feel. Because the feel means you're still with us. Because the feel means you're still breathing. Because the feel means you still have an opportunity to be achieving. Because the feel means that you still have the power to stop the pain, stop the bleeding, stop the hurting, stop the grieving. I said, when you feel. Because the feel means you're still with us. Because the feel means you're still breathing. Because the feel means you still have an opportunity to be achieving. Because the feel means that you still have the power to stop the pain, still have the power to stop the bleeding, still have the power to stop the hurting, still have the power to stop the grieving. So whenever you feel like your professor or teacher has lost their mind because they're overwhelming you with a workload that seemingly will take up all of your time, I need you to pause and recall the reason why you made the choice to invest your time. And never lose sight of the fact that you were destined to shine. Never lose sight of the fact that you were made for this grind. Never lose sight of the fact that no hole is too deep for you to climb up out of. And above all else, your why will never ever allow you to withdraw. Your why will never ever allow you to pull the plug. Your why will never ever allow you to throw in the towel. See, it's your why that will push you to dig deeper and to go that extra mile. See, not only do you owe yourself, but you told your mama you were finished. You told your daddy you were finished. You told your brother you were finished. You told your sister you were finished. So therefore, it's up to you to never diminish the value of your word. And a wise man once gave me a wise word, and now I'm passing these wise words on to you. You are in total control of your situation. So when you feel like you're facing a breaking point, this is the point when you go to your professor. This is the point when you go to your academic advisor, and not the time to despise her and not the time to despise him. Simply say, I am in this until I walk across the stage with my diploma. I am in this until I smell the sweet aroma of success. And right now, I'm feeling overwhelmed because I am on academic overload. Do you have any suggestions that will help me power through this semester? Because my only option is to figure this out. And whatever it takes, I can, I will, and I must do. See, I understand that drastic times call for drastic measures. And the measure of a person's will is determined by what they are willing to do to ensure triumph over tragedy. The measure of a person's will is determined by what they are willing to do to ensure success over failure. The measure of a person's will is determined by what they are willing to do to ensure winning over losing. And see, right now, I'm choosing to fight for my academic future, and that's why I came to your office. I promise. When they see that your passion is pushing you with a purpose, they will give you every ounce of their being to assure you are successful because they know you're worth it. I just need you to never forget that you're worth it. Success is your baby. You just gotta birth it and then kick back and enjoy the fruits of your labor. But in the meantime, I need you to pull up your sleeves. I need you to tighten up your boxing gloves because you're right in the middle of a heavyweight boxing match. And life is trying to take your title, and your survival in this academic arena is at stake.
I asked a man one time, what are your goals for this month? And he said, if I could just scrape up enough money to pay these lousy bills. That was his goal. Hey, I'm not saying it isn't a goal. It is, but it's such a poor goal. It certainly isn't inspiring. You don't jump out of bed on Monday morning and say, oh boy, another chance to go out and scrape up the money to pay these lousy bills. The point is that goals should be fun. They should be big, challenging, rewarding. They should allow you to grow. Remember too, that the major purpose of having a goal is not just to acquire the goal. The major reason for setting goals is to compel yourself to become the person it takes to achieve them. In other words, attaining the goal is of secondary importance. What's far more important is what you become in the pursuit of it. The greatest value in becoming a millionaire, for example, is not the $1 million. The greatest value is the skills, the knowledge, the discipline, and the leadership qualities you acquired in becoming a millionaire. millionaire. It's the experience you acquired in planning, development, strategy. It's other qualities you acquired, such as courage, commitment, and willpower to attract $1 million. You could lose everything you attained, but you could not lose the skills, knowledge, and experience you have obtained. Even better than having is being. Here's a most important question to spend some time answering. What kind of person will I have to become to get all I want? Write down a few thoughts on that. Write down some skills you'll have to develop, for example, and some of the things you're going to have to learn. Just spend a little time writing a few sentences on this. What kind of person will I have to become to get all I want? The answer to this will give you some personal development goals. Remember that income does not far exceed personal development. All of us have to do this kind of self-examination. I have to look at my own life and say, well, here's what I want, but am I willing to become what it takes to get what I want? If I'm too lazy, if I don't want to learn, read, study, and grow to become that kind of person, then I cannot attract what I want. Now, either I have to change my wants or I have to change myself. Here are a few more key points I'd like to share with you on goals and designing your future. First, if you don't right now feel as if you're equipped to get all you want, just remember, ability will grow to match your strong dreams. That's why the goal-setting process we've discussed is so important. The more you work on this, the more ideas you will get on how you can change, how you can grow. I am nowhere near the person I was when I met Mr. Shope 25 years ago. I'm not that person anymore. I've changed. There's nothing you can do about the past, but you can do a great deal about your future. You don't have to be the same person you were yesterday. You can make changes in your life, absolutely startling changes, in a fairly short period of time. You can make changes you can't even conceive of now. If you give yourself a chance, your abilities will grow. You have untapped talents and potential that you haven't even reached for yet. And as time goes on, you'll be able to reach deeper and deeper. The first thing you'll know, you'll be able to do things you never thought you could do. You'll be able to handle things you never thought you could handle. You'll have ideas that you've never had before. All of this is sparked by the goal-setting process. When you know what you want, and you want it badly enough, the answers will come to you. I can't tell you why it worked. All I know is it worked.
If you can become a person and engage others, you will now become an extraordinary leader, not a mediocre or good one. As far as I'm concerned, good is the enemy of great, corny as it sounds. So think about it. I'll give you an example of this book that I did. I did this book because back in 2008, I felt like I was back in my childhood. Everybody around me was suffering, and I hate suffering. Most of the skills I developed is because I want to take somebody else suffering and take them to a place where they have joy and aliveness and health and vitality and abundance or whatever I can do to help. And so I've got the guy that cuts my hair. My barber is like, his kid can't go to college. He's lost half what he's got to do. A billionaire client of mine is no longer a billionaire. He's feeling equally bad, he thinks, but suffering is suffering in somebody's mind, right? And so I thought to myself, something's got to be done. And then, like most of us, somebody's going to do something. In 2010, when things actually got worse and the system wasn't changed, I started reading everything I could read, started watching everything I could watch, and I watched a documentary called Inside Job. Anybody here see Inside Job? If you didn't see it, it was Matt Damon did the documentary on it, and it won the Academy Award. And it actually walked through systematically and showed how the entire world economic experience, our entire economy as a world, was almost destroyed by a few people, and they identified who they were, how they did it, they documented it all, and then they showed what happened to them. And what happened to them, does anybody know? No, not nothing. Nothing would have been a reward compared to what they should have got. They were actually put in charge of the turnaround, and they were given your money and mine. We were taxed so they could put their money back where it belonged. So at the end of this film, depending upon your personality, if you haven't seen it, I should warn you, you'll have one or two reactions. You'll either be very depressed or very pissed. I was on the piss side. I was so angry, and I thought to myself, nothing's been done. This is insane. And something's got to be done. I thought, everybody says something can be done, but what can I do? And I thought, you know what? I've got access. For 21 years, most people think I'm a happy, bouncing around, positive thinking, screening guy on an infomercial from 20 years ago, but I have continued to grow, not taller, hopefully. But in all that time, for 21 years, I've coached Paul Tudor Jones, who's one of the top 10 financial traders in the history of the world. He's a man who's made more money than almost anyone on earth, along with George Soros and a few other names you may know. But Paul's really unique in that Paul found himself in a position that in 1987, when the stock market crashed, the largest percentage in a day still to this day, he made 20% 50% when the whole world was losing everything. He made 200% that year for his client. Just unbelievable. And then it was like the guy that walked on the moon. What do you do if you walk on the moon? You see you look at that incredible view of the earth. It's you seeing it's not a photograph. You come back to the earth, you shake the president's hand, you have a ticker tape parade. Now what do you do? And a lot of those astronauts, if you know the story, actually became depressed because they didn't have what I call a compelling future, something to look forward to. So Paul had a little fall back, and I was called in to turn him around. Came in and started studying everybody around him, figured out what it took to do it, and built a strategy to put him back in state. He's been successful and made money every year for 21 straight years. Every single year. There's no one in his class that's done that. No one. Pretty amazing. I was with him to give example. We were together, and back if you remember in the tech bubble of 2000, it blew up. Paul made money. Right by him side by side every single day. He's emailing me every single day. I'm talking in some ways, communicating it, or I'm going to see him every 3 or 4 months to be there in person to make sure we keep tweaking the system. I'm not there to be a positive thinking coach. He didn't need that crap. I'm a prepare for anything coach. How do we figure out the strategy? I've always been a strategist. I've never believed in positive thinking. I never told people you should go to your gym or go to your garden, better yet, and chant, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds. I'm like, here's the weed, let's pull it out. That's what I do with him. 21 years. 21 years includes 9/11, and when the whole markets are blowing up, making money. 21 years includes everything we saw in the subprime crisis, making money. It includes when we all went through the dropping gold, those are associated to it not long ago. So I've been there with all those pieces, and I got a chance to learn from this guy side by side, and I've been able to contribute to him in a significant way.
You'd be shocked how many ministers crumble because they don't have support, and secretly want to get out of the ministry, and are secretly burned out, and are secretly tired, and their marriages are in jeopardy, and their minds are perplexed because they're doing too much. Leaders, if you are doing anything in your church that somebody else could do, you shouldn't be doing it. Good leadership is working yourself out of a job. And if you are busy doing stuff that somebody else could do, then you're a control freak. And you need to give up control and allocate that over to somebody that you can trust so that you can reserve yourself for your highest and best use. I want you to ask yourself a question, and every time you take an assignment as a leader, is this my highest and best use? Or am I busy doing something that somebody under me could do? If somebody on your team could do it, you shouldn't be doing it. Because as you go and as you grow, you must reserve yourself for your highest and best use. And if you will relinquish your need to control everything, you will create a place for somebody to serve and alleviate your stress and be better at your highest and best use when you are not distracted by the trivia of doing things that God has called somebody else to do. Elijah comes along and he runs behind Elijah and he says, wait a minute, man, wait a minute, your hands look dusty. Let me pour water on your hands. And Elijah said, and all the time I was calling down fire from heaven, not one person on Mount Carmel ever did that. Nobody helps me be me. And so we've called you to this meeting today because it's not just the people who I had stand that are important. It's the people who are sitting. Because if you don't pour water on the hands of the people who stand, they may not be here next year. And they will be talked about and they will be ostracized, but they died for the lack of you. Their arms got heavy for the lack of you. Their marriages suffered because they were busy doing things that the church said somebody else could do, and they got the divorce for the lack of you. Because there was nobody close to them who urged them to take a vacation, not just going to another conference. A real vacation does not have seminars. I took a bunch of my partners on a cruise, you know. In fact, we flew out from here. We flew up to here and went on an Alaskan cruise, and all that we were on the cruise, my wife and I. You know, when you're on a cruise with your partners and stuff, you can't leave your room with it. The moment you come out the door, there's cameras flashing and people coming up to you and wanting prayer and wanting to discuss scriptures and stuff, you know. So you're kind of in your room like a hostage. When you come out the room, it's like, you know. And they come up and they do whatever it is they want to do, and they say, we hate to bother you on your vacation. I looked at them and I said, this is not our vacation. This is not our vacation, because if it was, you wouldn't be here.
Hi, welcome back to Mind Control.
There is nothing as powerful as a changed mind. You can change your hair, your clothing, your address, your spouse, but if you don't change your mind, the same experience will perpetuate itself over and over again, because everything outwardly changed, but nothing inwardly changed.
If you want something out of life, if you want to change yourself, if you want to acquire something, if there's some goal that you want to reach, changing your behaviors, overcoming negative habits, it's challenging. It's hard. Most people go through life never discovering what their talents are. Most people never develop their talents.
The only thing that's going to make you happy, my friend, in this year or any other, is to step up. It's to raise the standard. It's to discover what you're capable of and feel that incredible power pushing through whatever's holding you back and get to the other side of more of your true self. That's what this game's all about.
When you step into your fears and continue to push yourself to go on, something happens for you.
If you look at somebody who's really successful, you think, wow, I mean, they're so amazing, they're such a genius. You gotta dig underneath and you gotta remember something. People are rewarded in public for what they've practiced for years in private.
If you don't develop the courage to do that which has been given you to do, and you spend a lot of time going around trying to convince other people or trying to get their approval, what will happen is that you will lose your nerve. And other people will convince you that what you're doing doesn't have any value, and you'll give up on your dream. How much time do you have left? How much time do you have left? When you start thinking about that, we don't know. Most of us don't use the stuff that we have brought into the universe. Stop wasting valuable time. If you want something, you have got to be relentless. You've got to learn how to become resourceful. You've got to learn how to become creative. The power to hold on in spite of everything, the power to endure. This is the winner's quality. The hunger, the ability to face defeat again and again without giving up. This is a winner's quality. What this power is, I cannot say. All I know is that it exists, and it becomes available only when a man or a woman is in that state of mind in which he or she knows exactly what he or she wants and is fully determined not to quit until they find it. There's greatness in you, and you've got to learn how to tune out the critics outside and the critic inside. I'm going to harness my will, and I'm not going to let anything stop me. I deserve this. Most people give up on themselves easily. You know the human spirit is powerful. There's nothing as powerful. It's hard to kill the human spirit. You are unstoppable. Live your life with passion, with surprise. Most of us go through life with our brakes on, holding back. Decide that you're going to push yourself. You got to focus on you. And as you convince you, as you sell yourself every day, you will begin to see a difference in the things that you're doing. Selling yourself on your ability to perform a job, to achieve a certain objective. Telling yourself every day, here I go again. And I got what it takes. This is my day.
There are many ways to get the things that we want for ourselves in our lives. But basically, it all begins with how we choose to think. As you think, so shall you be. 7 little words that I think are perhaps the most important things that we can learn and master in our lives. This old proverb notion that I become what I think about all day long.
One of the major things Shoaff taught me when I met him, he said, poor thinking habits keeps most people poor. Not poor working habits. Most people work hard, but they don't think hard. And Shoaff taught me that the mind is like a factory, a mental factory. And whatever you think about all day long pours ingredients into this mental factory. And that's what builds the economic, social, financial fabric of your life. He quoted me a Bible phrase that says, "As you think, so you become." How awesome.
We are how we think. Your brain is divided into two halves, positive and negative, good and evil. Ain't no neutral ground in your brain. It's either positive and good or negative and evil. You are in charge. You're the boss of the factory.
And once you know that what you think about is what expands, you start getting real careful about what you think about. You don't allow your thoughts to be on anything that you don't want, or that you wouldn't want to have manifest or show up for you in your life.
Here's how you build anything. Select the right ingredients, keep out the wrong ingredients, and it starts with thought. Everything starts with thought. So you must be wise and careful what you think about, because that starts everything. You got to be wise and careful. See, it doesn't matter who hands you the bad stuff. It doesn't matter where you get the bad stuff. It'll still do its damage on your bank account, wherever you get it.
So decide that you're going to take some time to work on you, that you deserve that from yourself, that your life deserves some prime time, because you are creating your own production. As Michael Todd would say, you are the star of your show. You are the director. You're writing the script. And you will determine whether your life is a hit or flop. You determine that. Overcoming the negative conversation, that inner dialogue that's going on all the time, even when you don't want it to be there. You can't stop yourself right now from thinking. You can't do it. It's going on. You've got to stand up inside yourself sometimes and say, shut up. I was going to give a presentation, and this voice inside of me saying, you can't do this. You don't have everything it takes. I shut up. I'm behind on my bills, and you're telling me what I can't do. I have got to do it. That's why you've got to learn to make a conscious, deliberate, determined effort to stand up inside yourself. Working on yourself, watching that inner dialogue, it will determine the quality of your life. I don't believe this. I know this.
Let me show you how this works. You wake up in the morning and you say, man, I don't feel myself today. I got up on the wrong side of the bed. I'm not a morning person. Man, I hate my alarm clock went off this morning. I got to get out here in this traffic. I'm going to drive down here to there. I don't even like these people on my job. And on and on and on. And your day starts tumbling into what you ordered at the top of the day. You could wake up in the morning and you say, you know what? Today is going to be a great day today. I expect something really good to happen for me today. Man, thank you, Lord, for waking me up this morning. Same brain. Man, I can't wait to go to work today. It may not be the job I want, but at least I got a job. I'm so grateful I got a car to drive to work today. Hey, man, at least I got a check coming in. I sure want to thank you, Lord, for this roof over my head today. I appreciate the fact that I don't have a car, but at least I can walk to the train. Man, this is going to be great today. That's how your mind works 24/7. It never turns off.
Our lives are mostly affected by the way we think things are, not the way they are. The way we think they are affects us most.
You have got to change the way you think. It is the whole determining factor of where you go in life. We are all where we are today because we thought ourselves to this position. If you don't like the position, think yourself out of it.
Every day, stand guard at the door of your mind. And you decide what goes into your mental factory. Don't let anybody just dump anything they want to in your mental factory, because you've got to live with the result.
I want to suggest now that you really put on your thinking hat. Thinking is the highest function of which a human being is capable, And all the great leaders, all down through history, have been in complete and unanimous agreement that you and I become what we think about. Now play with that for a moment. It's a subject that is not taught in school. It's the highest function of which we're capable. And every great leader that has ever lived all told us that you and I become what we think about most of the time. Dr. Rampell wrote a paper, Tools for Teaching Thinking. He said thinking is a skill which can be learned just as we learn skills such as typing and playing the piano. Now, he said few public schools offer courses devoted expressly to teaching thinking. Rather, we are expected to learn and teach thinking as a byproduct of learning mathematics, reading, science, history, trade, and so forth. And he said we do, in fact, learn a lot about thinking in this way. The trouble is, we learn our thinking skills in bits and pieces, and we never put it together as an overall picture. If asked to describe what all is required in order to think effectively, most people would be at a loss to give a complete account. Thus, we are unable to assess our own thinking skills or systematically teach the skill of thinking to others. Now, consider this for a moment. When you think in pictures. I'm going to suggest that you think of the home you live in, and as you do, realize that an image of your home comes onto the screen of your mind. It's almost as if there's a screen running right through the center of our head, and the second we think of our home, the picture of the home comes onto the screen of our mind. Now I want to suggest that you think of your automobile. And the second you think of your automobile, the picture of the home is gone, and the picture of the automobile is there. Think of where you work or go to school. And bang, 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 just like that, the picture changes. We literally think in pictures. Now I'm going to suggest that you think of your mind. Now, when most people think of their mind, they get an image of the brain. You see, mind is an activity, and body is the manifestation of that activity. Your brain is comprised of hundreds of thousands of cells. Into these cells, we impregnate pictures or images. And as we think, we activate that particular group of brain cells, and the picture that's in them flashes on the screen of the mind. Now, when you think of yourself and you think of money, what kind of a picture do you get? You know, the vast majority of people get a picture of poverty. And what we want to do is take and build cells of recognition in your brain for prosperity. Now, we're suggesting that you start to see money. Whenever you think of money, see this stuff as an obedient, diligent servant. You're the master, it's the servant. And don't ever get that equation reversed. Lack and limitation can only exist when we make room for them in our mind. But prosperity consciousness knows no lack and it knows no limitation. Now, I want to suggest that you resolve to just completely take the lid off your marvelous mind. Just blow it away. And let the greatness start to flow around in there. The type of thoughts and ideas which occupy your consciousness are of paramount importance in developing prosperity in your life. Your mind is either in an orderly or a confused state. Everything starts in our mind. Well, if we're going to have order in our mind, we must have an image of our mind, and most people don't have. So what we're going to do, now you can sit and you can watch this over and over and over again, because there's going to be parts of it that'll seem a little confusing to you first time through. But as you play it over and over and over again, the confusion will leave and order is going to come to your mind. There's many times I'll take a book and I'll read the same paragraph over and over again. This book of Napoleon Hill's, I've been reading that for 27 years. Now, it's not such that I'm such a slow learner. It's just there's so much depth in the book.
You would not believe what some people have got in their house to read. You would not believe. One of the best dressed up words I know for a lot of it is trash. Can you imagine dumping a barrel of trash into this mental factory every day and coming out with a rich, dynamic, positive life? It can't be done. You might as well try making a cake with cement.
Thank you so much for watching till the end. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Please also like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and families. Please watch our other motivational videos. Thank you again.